Y'all see Gene, I'm telling y'all, man, somebody better punch him in the face. Somebody better do something to him, man. He out here doing this, that, and we be like, all right.
Thank you, Roger Bonds, for putting it out there. It came to life for y'all. It came to life for y'all that this dude wanted me dead way before I came to YouTube. What he look like telling somebody to whoop my He didn't tell him that. He wanted me in the dirt and was trying to rock me to sleep.
Some people dismissed Gene Deal's warnings at first, but with every new interview and every new allegation, more attention has shifted toward what he has been saying. He insists these concerns didn't begin after he started speaking on YouTube. According to Gene, he believes the danger existed long before that, and recent comments from former Bad Boy head of security Roger Bonds have only reinforced those concerns in his mind. For years, Gene Deal has appeared on interviews, podcasts, and live streams, sharing what he describes as first-hand accounts of Diddy's alleged darkest secrets and offering a behind-the-scenes look at the Bad Boy era. But as his story has continued to unfold, Gene has admitted that he's always been cautious, believing Diddy allegedly held significant influence and that his reach extended much further than most people realized. What makes the situation even more striking is Roger Bonds' public claim that he was once instructed to confront people who spoke out against Diddy. That allegation doesn't just support part of Gene's account. It raises broader questions about the culture that may have existed behind the scenes. According to Bonds, intimidation and silence were not uncommon. Meanwhile, Gene maintains that he isn't trying to create conflict. He says he's simply sharing what he witnessed during his years with Bad Boy, even though he believes speaking out could carry serious consequences. When asked whether he worries about possible retaliation, Gene made it clear that fear isn't what drives him. He pointed out that he once served as Diddy's bodyguard and said he trusts in his own ability to protect himself with God's guidance. While he acknowledged that unexpected situations can happen, he insisted he isn't living in fear. Gene also reflected on an incident from August 14, 1999, recalling a high-speed chase through Harlem. Looking back, he questioned whether previous confrontations could have been connected to something larger. He explained that people capable of ordering harm don't always act directly, and those carrying out the actions may not even realize who gave the instruction. That's why, after hearing Roger Bonds later claim Diddy allegedly wanted something done to him, Gene said it forced him to reconsider events from years earlier. To understand why these claims have gained so much attention, it's important to look beyond the allegations themselves. The conversation now extends to the federal case surrounding Diddy, the increasing number of former insiders speaking publicly, and the growing scrutiny surrounding an empire that once appeared untouchable. As more people come forward with their own accounts, the story has become increasingly complex. Roger Bonds isn't simply another commentator online. From 2003 to 2012, he served as Diddy's head of security, protecting him during public appearances, award shows, and major industry events. According to Bonds, that role gave him first-hand insight into how Diddy allegedly managed the people around him, including what he describes as power plays and intimidation tactics. After eventually leaving, Bonds began publicly discussing what he says he experienced, and many people have paid attention because he's speaking about events he claims to have personally witnessed. When asked how quickly he noticed warning signs while working for Diddy, the conversation naturally shifted to Gene Deal. Unlike an outsider looking in, Gene spent years inside Bad Boy during its peak, when artists like the Notorious B.I.G., Maze, and others helped define an era of hip-hop. He says he wasn't simply observing history. He was part of the team behind it, present at sold-out concerts, backstage areas, VIP rooms, and hotel hallways where important decisions were made. Since leaving Bad Boy, Gene has consistently spoken about what he believes happened behind the scenes. Years later, Roger Bonds also began sharing his own experiences. While their stories remain separate and consist of individual allegations, some of their accounts overlap, drawing widespread public attention and fueling continued discussion about what they claim took place within the organization. Gene has repeatedly described his efforts as something much bigger than a personal battle. He believes the truth has already prevailed spiritually and says the current legal proceedings represent only the physical side of that process. In his view, the people he believes were wronged, including Biggie, Tupac, Wolf, Miss Jones, and others, have already achieved justice in a deeper sense. He encouraged anyone feeling afraid, including Tiffany Red, to stand firm, insisting that no one should live in fear of another person. He even offered to personally support and accompany anyone who felt unsafe. During the discussion, it was explained that Tiffany Red is one of Cassie's close friends and has publicly spoken about her own experiences in the music industry. Jean expressed sympathy for what she endured, saying she simply wanted to create music and share her talent without living in fear. One noticeable difference between the two former security figures is how they communicate. Roger Bonds tends to speak in a measured and reflective way, carefully choosing his words. Gene Deal, by contrast, speaks with far more emotion. His interviews often feel less like prepared statements and more like someone finally releasing years of experiences he says have remained bottled up. That emotional style has helped many of his interviews gain significant attention while also making him one of the most recognizable voices in the ongoing discussion. Gene argues that people rarely change their core behavior. Referring to Diddy, he claimed this pattern had existed for many years. While discussing another recent lawsuit, Gene said several allegations sounded familiar to him, particularly descriptions involving attempts to use women to place individuals in compromising situations. He emphasized that these observations reflected his own interpretation after reading publicly available court documents. As the interviewer clarified details from the newly filed lawsuit, Gene referred to allegations involving Lil Rod, who claimed he was placed in uncomfortable situations involving women allegedly connected to Diddy's circle. Gene responded by saying the allegations reminded him of incidents he says he personally witnessed years earlier, including situations involving Jay-Z, Sarah, and another woman. According to Gene, he overheard conversations that led him to believe similar tactics were being used at that time. Roger Bonds later made another serious allegation during a podcast appearance, claiming Diddy once instructed him and others to physically confront Gene Deal and former Bad Boy associate Mark Curry after they publicly criticized him. Bonds said he never carried out those alleged instructions. While these claims have not been proven in court, they have intensified public discussion surrounding Diddy as his legal challenges continue. According to Bonds, his warning wasn't intended as entertainment, but as a serious caution based on what he says he personally experienced while working inside Diddy's circle. Reflecting on those years, he explained that as time passed, he began recognizing patterns that he hadn't fully understood before. He said that when powerful people repeatedly avoid consequences, they often have little reason to change their behavior. Bonds also described the psychological effect of working in that environment. He said that when you're living through it every day, it's easy to believe reassurances that everything is under control because that's what you're constantly being told. Deep down, he hoped each day would bring a change, believing the person he worked for might eventually treat others differently. Eventually, however, he reached the conclusion that nothing was changing. He also revealed that developing diabetes became a turning point in his own life. While traveling overseas, he experienced symptoms that ultimately led to his diagnosis. Looking back, Bonds said he now believes that illness became the reason he was finally able to leave the situation, seeing it as God's way of guiding him toward a different path. When asked about Roger Bonds' comments, Gene admitted he now takes the possibility of threats seriously. In recent interviews, he has said he no longer feels completely safe and believes he needs to remain constantly alert. He has even suggested that he may require personal security because of the attention generated by his public statements. While those concerns remain his personal belief and have not been independently verified, they illustrate how seriously he views the situation. It's a remarkable reversal. A man who once protected one of the biggest names in music now says he feels the need for protection himself. That shift has only intensified public interest in both the ongoing dispute and the allegations surrounding it. Gene has insisted he was never involved in any wrongdoing during his time working for Diddy. He said his assignments typically involved protecting Diddy's children, something he viewed as evidence that Diddy trusted him in situations where criminal activity wasn't taking place. Referring again to Roger Bonds' remarks, Gene said Bonds acknowledged seeing him many times over the years while understanding the reputation he carried in Harlem. According to Gene, people who truly know him recognize him as someone who stood on principle. Gene has also spoken about a confrontation outside a courthouse that he believes was more than a random encounter. According to him, a YouTuber repeatedly approached and provoked him until the situation became physical. Gene believes the incident was designed to provoke him while public attention surrounding him was already high. Those claims have not been independently verified, and there is no public evidence confirming any coordinated effort. Even so, Gene says the experience reinforced his concerns about his own safety. Roger Bonds also reflected on the emotional toll his years working security had on him. He described waking up in beautiful places around the world but still feeling exhausted and unsettled because, in his words, the overall energy surrounding the environment never felt right. Eventually, he decided it was time to leave. Using his medical condition as justification, he gradually stepped away, explaining that doctors recommended a more stable lifestyle with regular sleep and healthier routines. Meanwhile, every new interview and every viral headline continues to bring Gene Deal's claims to a larger audience. The increased exposure has made him one of the most talked about former bad boy insiders. While that visibility gives his allegations a broader platform, it also subjects him to greater public scrutiny. With each appearance, debate surrounding his statements continues to grow. Gene remains adamant that anyone attempting to intimidate him would face resistance from people who know and respect him, particularly within Harlem. Referring again to Roger Bonds' warning, he said none of it surprised him because he had already accepted the possibility years ago. He also questioned why, in his view, efforts weren't made to help resolve tensions during the East Coast-West Coast conflict, arguing that opportunities for peace existed before the deaths of Tupac and the Notorious B.I.G. Ultimately, the conversation has grown far beyond Roger Bonds, Gene Deal, or even Diddy himself. It has evolved into a broader discussion about accountability, the influence powerful figures can wield, and whether people with first-hand knowledge truly feel safe enough to speak openly. As more allegations emerge and legal proceedings continue, public scrutiny has only intensified. Whatever the final outcome may be, one thing is clear. The image of an empire that once seemed untouchable is now facing its greatest challenge. If you found this breakdown insightful, let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth coverage of stories like this.